Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on all your smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Thursday, September 29th, 2022. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Dr. Tai Houser. Your regular anchor, Al Ferguson, is on assignment, I'm assuming, at a bathhouse. This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ+ community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television.
Our magazine is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's begin tonight by welcoming our anchors. Our first anchor tonight is Nik Nak London. Nik Nak is a music artist known for his popular song, Can't Take Me. He's the MC on Friday nights at the Escape Lounge nightclub, a legend in ballroom, and a cast member from the YouTube series The Come Up Miami. Welcome, Nik Nak.
Thank you. And now let's welcome anchor Glen Weinzimer. Glen is the founder of the Smart Ride, an annual 2-day, 165-mile bicycle ride from Miami to Key West. The Smart Ride has raised and returned over $13.9 million to AIDS, HIV service organizations across Florida in the last 18 years. Glen also owns Bona Italian restaurant in the heart of Wilton Manors. Bona Italian holds weekly Gift Back Mondays. In the past 4.5 years, Bona has raised and returned over $50,000 to help local organizations meet their mission. Welcome, Glen.
Thank you, Nik Nak. I am happy to be here once again. Excited about the fact that Smart Ride is less than 60 days away, and everyone's really into fundraising and practicing, so I'm all about that right now, and the rest of my life has been put on hold. So let's continue on. Let's welcome Kishi Chad. He serves as a board member at Unity Coalition, the first and only organization for the South Florida Latinx, Hispanic, and Indigenous LGBTQ+ community, advancing equality. Welcome, Kishi.
Good evening, everybody. If you're free from October 1st to the 8th, Unity Coalition has 5 events planned for our annual Celebrate Orgullo. We're also celebrating 20 years of Unity Coalition as an organization. Please go to celebrateorgullo.com and come to these events, gays. Now, let's welcome anchor Marc Fisher. Born and raised a few blocks from Stonewall in the heart of Greenwich Village, he went on to serve in the U.S. Marine Corps. His service didn't end there. After his service, he received the Governor's Gold Medal for Service in recognition of his outstanding work in assisting LGBTQ+ veterans to obtain benefits from the VA. Welcome, my fellow New Yorker, Marc.
Hi. While I support the benefits for veterans, I'm here today to talk about the Million Veterans Program. You veterans out there, sign up for this program. We're going to use your genes and your military experience and your blood tests and all your medical records to help advance medical science. We've already found advances for post-traumatic stress disorder, breast cancer, depression, and anxiety. It's a really good program. It doesn't cost you anything. I encourage you to sign up. It's the Million Veterans Program, MVP. just contact your local veterans organization. They'll get you set up with that. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, September 29th, 2022.
We'll begin tonight by queering up entertainment. Netflix stops tagging Dahmer series LGBTQ after criticism.
Here we are. Home sweet home.
Babe, I love you so. I want you to know.
Oh, what is that smell?
I'm gonna miss your love the minute you walk out that door. So please don't go.
Netflix has removed the LGBTQ tag from its series about serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer after many online commenters objected. Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, dramatizes the tale of the Milwaukee man who murdered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. He dismembered many of them and may have cannibalized their body parts. He was arrested in 91 and was killed in prison by a fellow inmate in 1994. The Netflix show stars Evan Peters, as Dahmer. The show has been criticized as adding to the trauma of the victims' families and friends, as well as associating the crimes with gay identity. Numerous commenters on social media had denounced the streaming service for labeling the series LGBTQ. A viral TikTok post by user Liz the Lesbo remarked, quote, "I mean, I know it's technically true, but this is not the representation we're looking for," end quote. Another user named Quentin Reviews said, quote, "Imagine clicking on the LGBTQ category and this is what you get," end quote. LGBTQ plus Milwaukee residents have said there's no justification for a series recounting Dahmer's crimes. Drag performer BJ Daniels told TV station WISN, quote, "I feel like it fetishizes this whole horrible moment in Milwaukee history. It shouldn't be looked at it this way. It feels completely wrong. It's disturbing the graves of victims." So I am loving this series. My boyfriend is absolutely, totally into it as well. And we've had pictures sent to us comparing him to Jeffrey Dahmer, which is a little freaky. Apparently they look alike.
Oh no.
That's very freaky, and that I will not be watching it because that is disturbing to me. I just don't like anything that's sort of horror. Like I hate the whole October 31st and all the horror shows that are on. So I'm definitely not watching this, and I agree that it is pretty traumatizing. If you see it under the LGBTQ label, you think you're going to see more of a romance or a life story, and then this pops up, and if you're young and you're just starting to get an idea, this could scare the living daylights out of you. But
that's true.
And I'm not sure why they would label this as LGBTQ. I'm not sure why that. I understand that this was a gay, a man who identified as a gay person, but I look at him more as someone that's troubled. Maybe he was abused, and this was his way of acting out what happened to him.
Yeah,
you know,
he actually identified as gay, but that is the general gist of how he behaved.
This was a man who committed crimes of convenience and the least resistance. And he found that victimizing gay bar patrons was an easy way to achieve his crimes. He could never accomplish these things today. He could never achieve any kind of social media presence. Everyone would label him for what he is or would be without a moment's hesitation. It couldn't happen today. And it's not the first movie about him at all. There's 2 or 3 other flicks that have been made.
why do you think they couldn't happen today? I mean, people still go to bars and pick people up. You know, and there's still vulnerable people that are willing to go with other folks. And someone like him, you don't know that he's committed this crime because that's what the serial killers do. They do these things and then go quiet for a while and then come back and do it again.
You may certainly be right. I think that there's more of the picking up and the more of the encounters happening online through social media than people being picked up in bars. I don't know that that goes on much anymore, getting picked up in a saloon. Now, having
a saloon. When's the last time you got to a bar? And
I'm 68 years old, and I still call things like that saloons.
Hooked it to the corral outside.
You know what's interesting? A fellow anchor of ours, Porcelain, actually posted a status on Facebook about this, and there was a lot of conversation. People are very passionate about this show because there's a lot of things that are coming to light in regards to the show. One, yes, I think Evan Peters is attractive. Hi. But I do feel it is kind of strange, like with the show You, how people were romanticizing this murderer, this criminal. I think I have issues with that. Also, I'm kind of on the fence because I do feel like this is a part of our history. I do feel like this is something we need to know occurred. And I do think that even with hookup culture, even with apps, I think we have to be more careful. I've always felt that we've put ourselves too much at risk, not even knowing the people that we're going home with. And people are still getting robbed. People are still getting mugged. People are still getting sexually assaulted when they pick people up. So I think we do have to take this very seriously. Also, in the Facebook status, and I hope this is okay with you, Jamal, I love you, but that was just that was a good Facebook status update. Somebody brought up the fact that the victims were mostly queer men of color. And if you think about back in the day, how many people, of course, people of color, but just even being queer alone, would the police be to our defense if they knew that a gay man was missing? That's why I think it might be a little bit different today, because they know if a queer person or a person of color goes missing, we're coming for the police. They already know.
That is a strong subplot to the whole thing, which is the police.
Ignored the family members of the victims.
And one individual who actually did manage to leave that apartment and was trying to get away, but had been drugged. And from a previous movie I saw, the police just, they just wrote it off as a domestic disturbance, and you guys have to work it out amongst yourselves. And they sent him on his way.
I think that I think it's a brilliant series. I really do. I think it's really well done. I think it's well written.
I'll have to take a look
well acted.
I will have to take a look at it.
But I think to underscore kind of what the story we've just reported is saying, and to your point too, Glenn, the fetishizing of this guy and this act is really a problem.
Well, that's the thing. He's real. And I think we have no problem creating films about serial killers who aren't real. We love watching that stuff if you're into the genre. But the problem here, and the same with Mr. Gacy's films, this guy is real, and you don't want to even give his name any kind of glory or glorification.
Yeah.
And the movies that are of fantasy, yes, we love that stuff. But I think the fact that this guy actually existed and actually committed these acts makes it almost, I can see where some people would find it unwatchable.
Yeah.
So I would just, one last thing on that is, I think it's just as dangerous now with the apps, and almost in some ways more dangerous because no one sees who you leave with.
Absolutely.
On the app, you go to someone's house, no one knows that you're there necessarily, and you could easily disappear, get caught up in somebody who's visiting town, and you just assume, oh, that's a hot guy, but you get there, may not even be the person that was in the picture.
Right.
So it can be really scary, but we're going to move on. So let's queer up business. You can now see if an LGBTQ-friendly business gives money to anti-LGBTQ politicians. There's a multi-pronged effort by far-right Republicans to roll back LGBTQ rights, deny the right for women to choose, and take over the machinery of elections to ensure that only Republicans win. Now there's a website that allows you to see just who is funding the extremists. Accountable for Equality Action has launched the Real Allies database, which tracks donations to extremist politicians. As you might imagine, the amount of money behind these efforts is staggering. More than $143 million was given to elect more than 1,000 state legislators who are behind some of the worst policies in the nation. The list of anti-LGBTQ contributions is shocking. Many of them are donations to legislators in Texas, The largest single donor, Texans for Lawsuit Reform, gave a whopping $10.1 million to legislators who were behind the state's anti-trans measures. However, the money for extremist politicians often comes from large corporations that purport to be pro-LGBTQ. AT&T has donated more than $1.5 million, including a long list of legislators who sponsored anti-trans bills. Comcast and NBC Universal donated more than $650,000. Also in the database of contributors are Anheuser-Busch, Coca-Cola, CVS, and Farmers Insurance. Every one of these companies is ranked as a best place to work for LGBTQ plus equality by HRC. The ranking signifies, quote, concrete steps to establish and implement comprehensive policies, benefits, and practices that ensure greater equity for LGBTQ plus workers and their families, end quote. I did a little bit of research on this, and one of the things that's a little bit misleading is some of the organizations or the big corporations that are giving money could have given it 10 years ago before a lot of the LGBTQ and trans issues were coming up. So, you know, so many corporations and pharmaceuticals give to both sides equally because they want to have a voice at the table or a place at the table. So, you know, I have mixed feelings about the story and hating on some of these organizations.
So that you're exactly right. This is just another tool in the arsenal. Like we can go, but it's important to balance it out with exactly what you're saying. They probably donated an equal amount or more to others, but at the same time, I lost my train of thought, so we'll go on.
Sorry, I recall an article from last year in June what was it?
Now you lost your train.
Yeah, no, but it was an article about calling attention to the fact that many of these companies do give to both sides. And while we can take one side's contribution as supporting our side, but they're also giving maybe not an equal amount. And this I don't know. The article didn't recount this. And we don't know whether they're giving $650,000 to the wrong side and only $100,000 to the right side. We don't know. But probably these big companies, you know, they're giving the max they can give and splitting it up as best they can, I would think.
This is just
we know Hobby Lobby doesn't like us. We know Chick-fil-A is not giving us any money, but
Hobby Lobby. Ooh.
But this is just another way in which the ramification of the Supreme Court saying that corporations are people is playing out against the better good of the country.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right.
Well, now let's queer up drag culture. Secret coaches for Shangela and Dancing with the Stars includes Michelle Visage and Courtney. Shangela recently made history by joining season 31 of Dancing with the Stars as the show's first male same-sex pair to regularly compete. She also became the first ever drag performer to get cast in the U.S. series. During an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Shangela revealed that she called up Courtney to ask her RuPaul Drag Race sister for advice regarding the ballroom television series. Shangela recalled, prior to the first episode, I said, "Hey sis, I'm getting ready. I'm doing the salsa. What do you think?" And we talked. We had great conversation. She gave me good advice about the show, end quote. Shanji also reached out to another Drag Race legend who competed on the Strictly Come Dancing, Michelle Visage. The All-Stars 3 finalists said, quote, "Baby, you've got to get those shoulders down, lean back, look at that head position, and move those feet with strong legs," end quote. I love it. In the meantime, Shangela wants none other than RuPaul himself to do Dancing with the Stars next. Shanji shared excited, quote, "You know who I really want to see do it? RuPaul. I'd like to see RuPaul in that ballroom. She's all about elegance and grace, and I'm sure she'd turn a quick step out," end quote. So I love it. I am so happy for Shangela. I'm just so happy for a lot of the Drag Race stars going on to do what they're purposed to do. So I'm just all excited to see it. I love it.
And it normalizes people to some degree, which is what I also love. And it's okay.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Shangela. I want to brag and gloat a little bit. I've been on stage with Shangela. We've met about 4 times. loved the fact that she was last place her first season, and then the next season she went further and she took advantage of so many opportunities. And like to see her in A Star Is Born and to see her just continue to make strides and use each platform as a stepping stone, it's really inspiring.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is our moment. And I feel like we've always lived in our moment, but now it's out loud. It's really out loud.
Yes. I think it's interesting to suggest that RuPaul do it because in my mind, there would be some kind of great justice if RuPaul did it and then really did screw up.
Ooh!
See, now you're not speaking as Al.
Yeah, no,
He wanted to win.
That's true. That's true. I'm sure she'd be great, but like, there's a little part of me that's like, that would be fun. Yeah.
Would she do it in drag or as RuPaul?
Interesting.
Now that would be a good twist.
I believe RuPaul would not do it in drag, to be quite honest, unless they're paying really well. Yeah. But now let's queer up politics. New book details Trump's transphobic and anti-gay behavior. Surprise of the century. When Donald Trump was preparing to debate Hillary Clinton in 2016, he had an oddly specific question for an imaginary transgender student. Cock or without cock? This scene of crude transphobic behavior is just one of the revelations in New York Times Trump reporter Maggie Haberman's soon-to-be released book, Haberman Presents Trump as a boorish homophobe obsessed with sexuality and appearing masculine, often to the horror of his aides, and details several instances over decades when Trump's true colors shone through. According to an excerpt obtained by the Daily Beast, a week before the second debate unfolded in St. Louis in 2016, Trump's close advisor at the time, Reince Priebus, presented the aspiring political figure with a question on same-sex bathrooms. Throughout the book, Haberman details how the now former president would also frequently engage in guessing who might be gay. For instance, when the AIDS virus began spreading in New York City in the early 80s, Trump phoned reporters to find out if people he'd met and shook hands with were gay. But that was mild for the early Trump years. Trump's conversations with associates would frequently lead toward lurid details of sexually explicit topics. Elsewhere in the book, former Trump employees said the now ex-president would show off photos of women he knew intimately as a display of his masculinity. Haberman continued, quote, they also recalled Trump mocking gay men who were seen as weak with the words queer or faggots, end quote.
I guess me playing gay or European in the airline terminal is not at the same level as what's being exposed.
Wow.
Sounds like Trump had an interesting childhood. His behavior is just so hard to describe at times. It's like, where is that coming from? Where is it coming from?
Insecurity.
A lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're from New York, you know this guy since the 70s. Page 6 in the Post has had him regularly. He was all, as they say in Texas, all hat and no cattle. Okay? He was a phony from the get-go. Any New Yorker will tell you that.
This is part of a bigger thing. Like, for instance, LBJ did similar things. He had press conferences naked. He would always be, on the toilet with, dignitaries.
With Humphrey in particular, he kept him there for a reason.
Churchill did the same kind of thing.
Yeah, and so there's
a method to the madness.
I guess.
But a reason behind it, perhaps.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's entitlement. It's this sense of entitlement where you think that, where one thinks that they can do something like that in order to show dominance
and the fact that we're still
dominance.
Talking about him.
Yeah.
He lost the election, and he remains to get more attention from the press on a daily basis. MSNBC at night, constantly. Like there's just
they constantly preach to the choir. Their audience doesn't need to be convinced.
They're not changing minds. We are already convinced, so stop preaching to me. Find a way to show and get through to the people that believe in what he's doing, because those crazies are still out there. And just like the Supreme Court Justice's wife today, who was sat for 3 hours in front of the January 6th committee, she still believes that the election was stolen from Trump. I mean, we've got to, I don't know what we need to do, but you just want to scream sometimes.
Well, the panel the other night talked about whether you could actually put him in jail. And as everyone seemed to agree that they more wanted him to be able to be put in jail than he could actually be put in jail. I think more likely is that he will be kept from running for office. That's more jail for him than a cell would be.
Right, but I'm a Gemini.
He needs the limelight.
Like Trump, unfortunately, he's a Gemini like me. And the best advice is just ignore us. Just ignore us, because we love attention. You give us attention, you create a monster. You ignore us, that's the worst thing you could do, or call us boring. Ignore us or call us boring, wow.
Buy him an island, put him on it, let him be king of the island. But, you know,
there you go.
We go back to the whole Hitler. Hitler was democratically elected and didn't win, and then came back to terrorize, and fascists are gaining more control in Europe. This week in Italy, there was a new fascist leader.
Correct.
So we have to be afraid of him. I mean, we can't.
Aware of him. I don't think I'm afraid of him. I need to be aware of him.
Well, I am afraid of the things he could potentially do should he get back in power. That's what scares me.
What's even scarier are the people who even vote for him. You know, it just shows that there are a lot of people out there that have suppressed the same feelings. Even though he's entertainment, they are serious. And so they follow his lead. So it's concerning. And, you know, fear is never a good thing. However, we are in an environment where there's just so much influence that he has had on America, and it's just unfortunate.
Your use of the comma right there, just
yes,
English
I
professor,
yes,
as
the
English
emphasis.
Professor, I got a little turned on, I've got to say.
I'd like to come back again another time and talk more about this topic, because I'm not convinced that we're going to put our best foot forward against this individual.
Yeah, and that very much could be the case. There's lots of news out there happening, and there's lots of ways.
I'd like to come
lots
back
of things
and talk
that we
more
need
about
we need
this.
to pay attention to. This is one of them, but I think we let the commission do their work, see what they're able to do, and deal with it as it comes. And with that, I think Mark, we'll move on with you.
Queer up South Florida and Florida. Here is the Outshine Film Festival, major films and parties, as Fort Lauderdale is here. It's time again for the Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival. It's critically acclaimed and internationally acclaimed, and serves as a platform for numerous premieres. This year's Fort Lauderdale Gay and Lesbian Film Festival will feature The Blue Caftan as the opening night movie on October 13th at 7 p.m. Directed by Mariam Touzani, this film has been selected as the Morocco submission to the Best International Feature category at the Oscars. The next day will be dedicated to 3 beautiful movies, namely Three-Headed Beast, So Damn Easygoing, and Blessed Boys. One series, Unconventional, directed by Fernando Andres and Tyler Rue, Three-Headed Beast is a gay bisexual romantic drama from the USA. So Damn Easygoing is a lesbian romance from Sweden, directed by Christopher Sandler. It is also an official selection for the Scandinavian Film Festival. Blessed Boy, directed by Silvia Borelli, is a comedy gay romance from Italy. Unconventional is another entry from the USA and is directed by Kit Williamson. The first 3 episodes of the series will be streamed at the festival, followed by a talk with the cast and crew about what to expect for the rest of the series.
So I don't really have a lot to say about this other than I always look forward to the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival. I don't know anything about any of these films, but I'm going to see as many of them as I possibly can. It's just a great event in town.
And I think it grew a lot during the pandemic because you didn't have to actually go to the show. You could actually stream it online, and last year they still did that, where you had the option. Be curious to see whether they do that this year.
You can.
Or whether they go back to a tradition.
You can.
You can?
Yes.
Which is great.
And I would just say that one of the films by The Blue Caftan, the directress is married to Nabil Ayush. He did a film called Much Loved. It was shown at Cannes, and as a result, he has been a fatwa has been issued for his death, and he's been banned in 6 Arab countries. I can't think of a better person to be awarded something just for that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sundays international service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
I'm Gabe Salazar, Artistic Director of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up Road to Stonewall. From LGBTQ+ News, partner Advocate Channel, and writer Tracy Gilchrist. GLAAD CEO Sarah Kate Ellis maps why LGBTQ+ people must vote in midterms. With the midterm elections less than 50 days away, activists are pushing for LGBTQ+ individuals to make their way to the polls, following Florida's controversial Don't Say Gay bill, barring discussion of LGBTQ+ identities in classrooms. GLAAD is encouraging the LGBTQ+ community to vote with the I Say Vote campaign, which aims to hold elected officials accountable by encouraging voter turnout among queer individuals. Read more at advocatechannel.com.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up drag culture. From LGBTQ+ news partner, LGBTQ Nation and writer John Russell. Trolls are vicious over Drag Race queen Hocus Pocus 2 promo. A famous Canadian drag queen is being targeted by right-wing trolls for a Hocus Pocus 2 promo posted by Disney Plus Canada's Twitter account. The clip features Canada's Drag Race Season 1 winner Priyanka, casting a spell to turn herself into all 3 of the Hocus Pocus witches. Right-wing Twitter users are calling the former children's TV host a groomer and a pedophile. Read more at lgbtqnation.com.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the USA View. From LGBTQ+ news partner Military Times and writer Megan Myers. Pentagon reports show previous fears on openly gay troops were vastly exaggerated. A decade after the services first allowed gay and lesbian troops to serve openly, a report from the Joint Staff found that concerns about combat effectiveness and unit cohesion were basically unfounded. The study began in 2012 and was published in April 2021. You can read more at militarytimes.com.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. From LGBTQ+ news partner Billboard and writer Stephen Daw, Bette Midler, Hocus Pocus 2, and her gay icon status.
I banish thee from Salem forever.
They were right to fear thee. Magic has a way of uniting. Happy 16th birthday, child.
I have a gift for my favorite customers. Legend has it, it's on the 16th birthday that a witch gets her powers.
Lock up your children! Yes, Salem, we're back!
Gilbert, where did you get that candle? We have to get out of here. The witches will be here any second. Ah! The book is alive.
He woke up?
If we intend to live past sunrise, we have to steal their souls.
Whoa, wait, can we talk about this?
No. We must fly!
Not to freak out. The vengeful maniac obsessed with getting revenge on Salem sounds very bad for Salem.
We should get some salt. Why? So we taste better when they eat us? Spread out.
That's not 6 feet under.
Stop! I am a good zombie!
In a new interview with Page Six at the New York premiere of Hocus Pocus 2, which is the long-awaited sequel to her 1993 Disney cult classic, Bette Midler was asked whether or not she needed the film to buff her status as a gay icon, to which she said no. Quote, "No, this is a worldwide, this is global, girl, get a grip," unquote. Read more at billboard.com.
Let's queer up entertainment. From LGBTQ plus new partner Out and writer May Rude. American Horror Story Season 11 premieres October 19th as New York City. American Horror Story is coming to the Big Apple. According to the Twitter account, the American Horror Story Zone, the title is for the new season is American Horror Story New York City, and the premiere date is October 19. FX chairman John Landgraf said that this year would focus on one story, not like last year's double feature. Read more at out.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up business. From LGBTQ plus news partner, Out Traveler and writer Toyin Awaji, Virgin Atlantic launches new gender-neutral uniform policy. Virgin Atlantic has said it is scrapping gender uniform options to champion the individuality of its employees. The airline announced in a press release on Wednesday that cabin crew, pilots, and ground staff can select which uniform they feel most comfortable in. Quote, no matter their gender, gender identity, or gender expression, end quote. Optional pronoun badges will also become available for crew and passengers. Read more at outtraveler.com.
All right, now LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up trans rights. From LGBTQ plus news partner Pink News and writer Chantel Bilson, Netflix genderqueer special by comedian Hannah Gadsby to contrast Dave Chappelle transphobia. Hannah Gadsby has signed a deal with Netflix to showcase genderqueer voices from around the world in a stand-up comedy special. The Emmy-winning lesbian comedian Gadsby believes the hour-long episode will broaden the scope of opportunities for genderqueer performers, end quote. It comes a year after Gadsby slammed Netflix as an immoral algorithm cult, end quote, when co-CEO Ted Sarandos defended anti-trans comedian Dave Chappelle and his transphobic special, The Closer. You can read more at pinknews.co.uk.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up politics. From LGBTQ plus news partner Queerty and writer Graham Grimoire. Little Marco pulls the Florida-Cuba communist card on Val Demings as race is close. The race for U.S. Senate in Florida is in a dead heat. A new poll finds pro-LGBTQ Democrat Val Demings is just 2 points behind anti-LGBTQ incumbent Marco Rubio with a 4.5% margin of error. This means the race is tight. Nobody was expecting such results when Demings first announced her candidacy in June 2021. Rubio has held the seat since 2011, and Republicans have held the seat since 2005 under 3 different senators. You can read more at queerty.com.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of a very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor tonight, Dr. Tai Houser, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Nik Nak London, Glen Weinzimer, Kishi Chad, and Marc Fisher. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you Good night.
Love you.
LGBTQ+ news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ+